Welcome to this session on environmental peace building across contexts, from urban and community settings to landscapes. I am Matti Lehtonen, moderating this discussion. I come from the United Nations, UNEP, United Nations Environment Programme, and I'm part of a joint program called Climate Security Mechanism. Thank you for joining, and I would like first to remind everyone that this is a webinar where we expect professional conduct, no inappropriate harassment or discrimination. It will be recorded as far as the presentations go, but recording stops before the discussion. We are going to hear 5 speakers, after which we'll have time for interactive discussion and conversation. And it's helpful if you do have questions. It's helpful if you put them in writing in the chat, but of course also feel free to just intervene. I think this is a fairly intimate group, so I'm sure we can handle a good interactive conversation afterwards. We'll cover a couple of urban themes first, then go to more case-specific post-earthquake experiences, and end with a couple of education-related themes. And the as for objectives, in addition to any questions that you might have, feel free to also provide any other kinds of thoughts and guidance and inputs on expanding these topics. These are very innovative topics that we have, and it is good for the authors and researchers to hear any new ideas and ways to do better, and feedback on what you're hearing. So feel free to provide all kinds of inputs when we get to that point. And additionally, we also, of course, encourage all kinds of networking and connections. So feel free to contact the speakers. To get us started, we have Aaron representing urbanity in environmental peace building research, and Aaron is an independent consultant and applied social scientist researching risk, disasters, and community resilience. He has supported UN agencies, governments, NGOs across 12 countries, and is the author of over 100 disaster-related academic articles, technical reports, and briefs and commentaries. Aaron has a PhD and a Master of Science in Humanitarian Action from the University College Dublin. So, Aaron, the floor is yours to start, and you have 10 minutes, please. You'll hear a chime after 7 minutes.
Perfect.
Over to you.
Thanks, Matti, for the introduction, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, title of my talk and what I want to talk to you today is a study that we've been doing. The lead is Sylvia Danilak, and I'm also working with Laura Peters, and we're working on urbanity in environmental peace building research, current status and future directions. So I wanted to talk over some of the results that we're finding, and then share some ideas on where we're thinking this field is heading. So to start off, just a little bit about the background. Why this research and why now? Study, it basically has 2 aims. The first is to determine how environmental peace building engages with the urban. And then the second, it's to think over and identify a research agenda for urban environmental peace building. The reason for this is basically threefold. I think we're all aware that more than 50% of the world's population lives in cities, and there's increasing scholarly attention and policy focus on the urban. At the same time, environmental peacebuilding scholarship is really maturing. It's growing into, maybe wouldn't go so far as to call it a discipline, but an established field of practice. Yet there remains, very little clarity on how environmental peacebuilding scholarship engages with the urban. So I think keeping those aims in mind and keeping that rationale in mind, what we did is, it was a classic sort of systematic review, and then we coupled that systematic review with focus group discussions. Systematic review, we used, Web of Science, and our search term was environmental peacebuilding. Pulled up academic articles on environmental peacebuilding, and then we characterized them from 0, so they didn't really engage in the urban, to 4. The entire article was focused on the urban. After that characterization, we analyzed each of these articles and coded for themes. After that review, we engaged in a bit of a focus group discussion with experts from research, practice, and policy who were broadly working on this topic. The focus of the purpose of the focus group, it was threefold. We had 3 different sort of conversational topics. First was validation, just to make sure that we are on the right track when it comes to this systematic review. Second one was the state of practice. So what's actually happening in environmental peacebuilding in urban areas. And then the third was let's start thinking about a research agenda. I want to cover the findings pretty quickly and then go into some discussion. Systematic review results. We found a total of 147 papers from our search term, environmental peacebuilding. As you can see on the right, very few none had a central focus on urban environmental peacebuilding. A few had some, like a section devoted to urban environmental peacebuilding. And then the rest, it was a paragraph, a sentence, or no engagement. So very little focus on the urban in environmental peacebuilding scholarship. Additionally, cities, they're rich, they're dynamic. They're spaces of, concentrated inequality, conflict. And there wasn't really a strong engagement with the ideas of cities and cities as a contested social spatial place. There was, however, this recognition that cities and the urban influences environmental degradation, violence, and conflict, and vice versa. So those issues actually shape how we think about cities and urban natures. So that's the result of the systematic review. Turning to the focus groups, participants, they weren't really that surprised with our results. They thought, we haven't seen a whole lot of dedicated research on urban environmental conflict and peacebuilding. They did, however, point to, there may be practice activities occurring. Haiti, Port-au-Prince, and then Colombia and other locations. So practitioners were possibly engaging in urban environmental peacebuilding. And they thought, an agenda, it's an important topic. There's potentially stuff there. We should start thinking about potentially bridging research and practice and crafting out an agenda for urban environmental peacebuilding. That leads to this discussion. So results suggest there's not the field of scholarly research for urban environmental peacebuilding is not well developed. There are adjacent scholarships in disaster risk reduction, sustainability, and then in practice. So we're thinking that together, the related scholarship, practice, existing work can be used to define urban environmental peacebuilding, identify a research agenda, and then establish a set of strategies for advancing that research agenda. Our working definition of urban environmental peacebuilding is below. It's an approach that explicitly engages power and politics in urban context, processes, and systems to build sustainable peace through and for nature. So power politics, the urban, and then sustainable peace through nature. From that definition, we're working on an agenda. I don't want to read off, every idea that we have. I'm putting this up, basically to hope to spur on some discussion. There's three dimensions that we're kind of focusing on. And, if you have thoughts on what this agenda should look like, what are the parts of power and politics, navigating urban space, and then building sustainable peace through nature, put it in the chat or raise your hand. And we're still crafting this. So, please comments, thoughts, and ideas welcome. The part we are a little bit more confident on is the specifics of this agenda are still under development, but we really think that realizing it will necessitate 4 different strategies. The first is recognizing cities as this dynamic and multifaceted place. We will need interdisciplinary connections and research connections. The second one is there's a lot of theorizing, right? And what we actually need is an empirical base of urban environmental peace building scholarship. So what's happening on the ground? Third one is this requires researchers in practice to collaborate, to co-produce knowledge. This may be being led by practice, and there's plenty of things to learn, and vice versa. And then the fourth, and this is getting a little bit normative. This is moving towards our vision, but this research may be beneficial by being in service to practice. So supporting practice, and supporting maybe some of the funding decisions. So it's not research for research's sake, but it's research to affect change. I'll leave it there. I'm going to put my email address in the chat. And yeah, welcome comments, thoughts, or ideas in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And that was less than 10 minutes and a lot of very striking information. And I am definitely very interested in the question of what should this kind of urban and environmental peace building agenda look like. I think it's something that will be also we'll come back to that in Ottawa itself when that time comes. Next, we'll continue with the urban thematic, but more of a specific case than an overarching horizon scanning on contesting urbanization, community responses to housing development and conservation in Santiago de Cali, Colombia. Thanks for joining as well, Andres. And you're an assistant professor in the Department of Urban Planning and Policy at the University of Illinois, Chicago. Your work explores the interconnections between nature, society, and policy through the lens of human dimensions of natural resources. You're actively investigating how people's perceptions, attitudes, and values regarding their natural resources and landscape management influence both individual and collective responses to environmental issues, social problems, and public health concerns. So we're very eager to hear from you next. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Matti. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. The minute you can see the screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you, Matti, for the introduction. My talk is going to cover an environmental conflict that is happening in my home city, Santiago de Cali, Colombia, regarding environmental conservation and housing development. So I will be providing some context regarding the city, also describe the conflict, how it arose, how it appeared, some of the methods that I use for the data collection, key results, and finally some pathways towards conflict resolution. So, Colombia is located in South America. The Santiago de Cali city is located in southwest Colombia, near the Pacific Ocean, and the city is located in the Cauca Valley, near one of the first national parks that were created over the past century, Farallones de Cali National Park. And so this is the city mainly. As you can see, the green area is the urban area of the municipality, and the blue area is the rural area of the municipality. The urban area is divided has some kind of subdivisions that are called comunas, and comunas may be built of different neighborhoods, like several neighborhoods. in this map, you can see that in the urban area, there are some like green, dark green spots. Those are the green spaces in the city. The blue area here in the rural area is divided, is basically, it has a regional or a state park, and also has a national park. So it has like comprises like a lot of different type of green spaces with different kind of environmental conservation categories. The city also has, the urban area has like different kind of issues. There's a lot of low-income communities located in the west of the city, the northwest of the city, the east of the city, northeast of the city, west of the city, especially in the hills, and also southwest of the city. So they are like low-income communities, also with facing a lot of high or extreme poverty levels. And some of those places include also the poorest neighborhoods in the city. So these are the main issues in the city. Also, they face, like a lack of water resources, and also like public services, including some of the accessibility to green spaces. So this is the map of the city, the urban area, and I'm going to be focusing on this particular area, which is a part of Comuna 18, Comuna 18, in the urban area. So in this particular area, the city had land use plans that was issued in early 2000, and the land use plan determined like this area, the south east of the city, was going to be developed, as well as some of this portion of Comuna 18 and some areas in the west of the city. Some of those areas are high value lands, some of them are low value lands. So, but these are the areas that the city are expected to be developing in the coming years. So that was in 2000. In particular, in this place, the city wanted to develop this area. Phase 1 was built between 2005 and 2009, and the other one was expected to be built starting 2009, but it has been challenged by the community members. This particular area, which is the hill, the Morro Hill, has been contested by the community members because it's often used for recreational purposes, aesthetic values, and also has a conservation or ecological value in this particular river watershed, which is Melendez River watershed. So the city wanted to update the land use plan. It has to be updated every 10 years. So the city started a process in which they wanted to update the first land use plan from 2009. Then it went to 2014. So it engaged like different agencies in order to be able to update some of the different components of the land use plan, including like all the ecological attributes in the city. So the environmental agency in the city wanted to, they use the concept of ecological structure in order to be able to consider each of the green spaces in the city, and trying to connect them to those like larger protected areas in the rural area, the state park and the national park. And they also engage community members in this conservation, right? So they engage people in identifying, studying, exploring these different areas, highlighting their social and environmental values. So people engage in the process of defining this particular area that were going to be included in the land use plan that was issued in 2014. So they did a lot of marches, carnivals, etc., trying to promote the declaration of some of these areas as protected areas. And they handed in the proposal to the city council and the mayor. But in 2014, the land use plan that was issued, that was accepted, didn't include some of the areas that community members were proposing, including El Cerro, El Morro Hill, and basically was excluded from the proposal. So it basically increased a lot of tension. People didn't want this place to be developed. So I was born in Cali, and I was living in Cali while I was doing this research. So basically, I used different analytical frameworks of conflict analysis, and I'm going to be focusing especially in the interest-based approach and the systemic structural approach. The first one is focused on interests that parties bring into a conflict, and also those kind of structural issue that caused that, disparities in across like different urban and rural landscapes. So the methods that I use, participant observation, I attended like several community meetings, town halls, and also the carnivals that people performed. 10 in-depth interviews, also reviewed government reports, news, and other media. The things that I found basically were, who were the key stakeholders in the conflict. So we have some actors at the local level. So we have the residents, people living in Comuna 18, also environmental NGOs that basically promoted and also were engaged in defining, identifying, environmental planning that was led by the environmental agency, and also the local government, the city, that were represented by the environmental agency and the housing authority, and also the same agencies at the national level. Things that I found basically were related to what interest people had in the conflict. The government wanted to do those constructions because they highlighted the social and economic reasons behind building those areas, and also that they basically said that those buildings were going to be built and they achieved some environmental criteria that were in the law. So they wanted to, have territorial control, compliance with laws and regulations. But on the other hand, the community had some recreational and social ties in this particular area, and also because they felt they lack green spaces in their communities. So they wanted to be respected, included in land use planning, and also, environmental justice. Also, systemic drivers. I use also this approach to analyze the case study. And I found that, the World Health Organization usually recommends 15 square meters per inhabitant of public open space. In the city is 2.4 square meters per inhabitant. And what I found here in this area, as you can see in the map, is like some comunas with the highest public open space are usually the wealthiest comunas in the city, and Comuna 18 is 0.65 square meters. So there's some kind of inequalities in accessing and also distribution of green spaces in the city. So this is the conflict that is happening, and I had the opportunity to discuss all of these issues with different actors through my interviews, through also participant observation, and some of the things that we found was the process that the environmental authority led in order to engage people in working on environmental planning, defining these key areas for protection, and also trying to include those in city planning need to be continued. But also there has to be clear goals, realistic commitments, and transparent communication, so people can understand that when they participate in in an environmental planning process, they need to be aware of how the things that they decide, they propose, are going to be counted into land use plans at the end. Also, there should be some kind of changes in policies and environmental policies in the city. They need to be more inclusive and seek also environmental justice, because there's a lot of disparities, systemic disparities in how people have access to green spaces. And finally, creating spaces for dialogue was something that also people highlighted, where people can have different perspectives of these different issues. So this research was recently published in Case Studies in the Environment, in case anyone is interested. I know there is a paywall, but I'm happy to share the document with any of you if you're interested. And you can reach out to me to this email. Thank you.
Thank you. Very remarkable discipline in time use. Thank you so much, and great to have this very down-to-earth and practical example on the urban side, and we'll continue on the housing and then shelter thematic, but this time moving to post-earthquake Afghanistan, and Sayeda will present us community-led humanitarian response and environmental peacebuilding in Kunar, Afghanistan. Sayeda is the founder of the Kalaam project, a non-profit organization dedicated to supporting vulnerable communities in Afghanistan through sustainable community-driven initiatives. Her work focuses on advancing environmental resilience by promoting research-based solutions that address challenges such as climate change, water scarcity, sustainable agriculture, and environmental education. Through the Kalaam project, Sayeda collaborates with local communities and partners to develop practical long-term strategies and strengthen both environmental sustainability and community well-being. So that is very interesting. Over to you to continue, Sayeda.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to share my screen really quickly. It says the browser is preventing me from sharing my screen. Can you all see my screen?
No, we see your name, but not your presentation, nor your video.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Something is happening now.
Okay. Let's see.
You have started. Okay, now
how
I
about
see
now?
myself.
Okay, the presentation is up. Do you see it now?
Not really presentation. I see the Zoom, but I don't see a PowerPoint now.
Either if you're using two screens, maybe one of the screen is open and not the other one where you're presenting. You can have a look.
No, it says that I'm sharing for some reason.
Yes, you're sharing, but you're not sharing the presentation. You're sharing your screen, your Zoom screen. Now.
Okay.
We saw it for a moment.
Oh, you saw it for a moment? Okay. It probably lagged. I apologize.
Yes, it seems to be lagging, yes. Now I see it at least. It's not in presentation mode, but I do see it.
Okay. How come it won't let me make this bigger? Okay. All right. I apologize. So you all can see my screen now?
I can for sure.
And yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. So today I'll be presenting on community-led humanitarian response and environmental peace building in Qader, Afghanistan. I'm going to give you all a bit of, context as to what I'm going to go over today. So for over 4 months, the Kalaam project implemented a needs-based aid program. We surveyed both men and women to identify urgent priorities and design locally informed interventions after the Qader earthquakes happened last September in 2025. In response, to sum it up, our team built earthquake-resistant homes. We installed solar paneled water wells. We planted fruit saplings to prevent landslides. We cleaned mountain springs and created pipelines utilizing solar paneled energy to create water access in 4 villages in Qader province. A lot of our fieldwork revealed environmental damage, housing destruction, water scarcity, and so this presentation situates disaster response within an environmental peace building framework, showing how community-led approaches can mitigate conflict risk while supporting recovery. So a bit of context, Qader province is a region in northeastern Afghanistan. It is mostly very mountainous. It's a very mountainous terrain. It's located in the lower Hindu Kush mountain range. Nearly 86% of the province is classified as mountainous. And so on August 31st of last year, multiple 6.0 magnitude earthquakes struck the province of Qader. And with aftershocks continuing in early September, the UN reported that over 13,000 buildings were destroyed, with over 2,200 reported fatalities. And so we had, it was a huge crisis. And at the Kalaam project, we were first responders, but we also have stayed on the ground since last September, collaborating with local villagers and local community leaders, empowering, young people in the area to create these community-led solutions to these issues. And so the needs that we identified included lack of access to clean water, lack of shelter due to the earthquakes, due to their homes being destroyed, and the loss of fertile soil and agricultural crops, and reduced income opportunities for farmers. So I think that, you know, something that maybe a lot of people don't know about Afghanistan is 80% of the food comes from our own fields, and so a lot of people are farmers. They grow their own crops, and their income solely relies on agricultural crops. And so when you have a flood, when you have a rainstorm, when you have an earthquake, really any natural disaster, farmers also suffer a very real loss of income, as well as losing their homes, losing, you know, access to clean water and things of that nature. And so we went ahead and we spoke to community. We, you know, did interviews with both men and women in the community to assess what their needs were. And these are the things that we identified. So this right here, this is an image. This is just a brief glimpse as to, you know, 4 of the earthquake resistant homes that we built. And when I say we built it, what I mean is our team consulted with local villagers, and these local villagers knew how to build the homes that they needed that could sort of withstand the lower level magnitude earthquakes. A lot of the homes that were destroyed were made out of mud and clay. In these homes, they used cement and steel rods along with bamboo, and so we essentially, you know, empowered a lot of these, you know, local villagers and community leaders. They built the houses, and we sort of put that funding behind them. We were able to buy the materials and things of that nature. And so we were able to build so far, we've been able to build 60 earthquake-resistant homes. There are many families who still are without a home and still live in tents. But because we've begun doing this, it is, you know, it's sort of it's an opportunity, and I think it's also very empowering for the other villagers to see as well, to get involved in sort of, you know, helping out their neighbors and solving these issues that they are currently facing. So this is a video. I'm going to play it without the sound on, but this is essentially something that we've been working on recently. There are, you know, when we surveyed communities, they told us we don't have access to water. We don't have access to a lot of things, but not having access to water can result in a lot of, you know, health issues. It's a lot of, you know, public health issues. People can't really wash their hands because they, you know, have to walk miles to get to the nearest water well. And so in this region, in Qader, when you essentially, if you want to install a water well in the area, because the terrain is so mountainous, it costs a lot. And there were already mountain springs in this area. The issue was that the water wasn't clean, and it was still very hard to get to. So what I'm going to show you, I'm going to play this a little bit, and you're going to see, you're sort of going to see the process of how we went about this. So here you have solar panel energy. You have a lot of these villagers sort of working on putting it up. And so essentially what they did is they created a pipeline, they cleaned the water, created a pathway for the water, and then they installed solar panels, and they created a pathway using this hose that you see here. And so the water is now accessible to 4 villages, and there's a filter that's been installed in these sort of containers and tanks, and so the water that comes out is clean. And so this is, you know, these are all the villagers that helped out. We also, you know, just by doing this, you're also creating jobs for people in Afghanistan, and so it's you know, it's a great thing. It's a great thing to see. It's also much more cost efficient. And so this is, you know, in terms of, you know, just going back to what the topic is, environmental solutions, instead of going out of our way to build something else that wasn't already there, we went ahead and we instead utilized what was already there, the mountain springs. And so this is one of the things that we did. And let's go this one. And And so here, essentially what we did was we had, we launched soil regeneration workshops where we were teaching farmers about climate change, and we were also teaching them how to sort of continue to grow their crops, but also make their soil fertile again. So what we did is we gave them the tools that they needed. We also were able to teach them what's really going on right now with climate change and how they can navigate that. We realized that they can plant beans when there's a flood. They can plant beans sort of like in a waterbed, and so we were able to teach them how to do that. Afghanistan suffers from a lot of droughts, and so we were able to sort of show them how to go ahead and put mulch in their soil, and we were able to provide all of those materials as well. And so these are 3 ways that we were able to go about addressing environmental issues that happened as a result of the earthquakes in Qader last year. So yeah, I would appreciate if you all had, if any of you have any more ideas, maybe you could drop it in the chat, or if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Sayeda, and yes, hopefully we'll get soon back to the conversation and ideas on and feedback on what you just heard. As you said, water is very central, and what environmental peace building can offer is solutions, like, for example, including water. And next we have Venkat from Cardiff University, UK, who is going to speak about the combination of engineering and peace, and the under the title becoming of the peace engineer, from technical competence to social responsibility. So this is moving towards the educational part next. Over to you, Venkat. And we see your PowerPoint coming up, but not yet presentation.
Okay. Fantastic. I'm just going to share my presentation. I'll try again. So Sayeda, it's not just you who has the issue. I have the issue as well. So
Yay.
so you're not on your own. My dear people, can you see the presentation? Matti?
Now we see, yes. Now I see.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. My dear people, I'm so very happy to be here with everyone and to be discussing this particular work of ours, which is on peace engineering. Especially my focus is much more on the pedagogical side of peace engineering, which I call peace engineering education. And in this presentation, I'd like to discuss with our peers and also the community of audience on some of the work that we have been doing, some results on making a peace engineer. So what is that all about? So welcome to my presentation. I'm not really sure how many of the colleagues sitting over here, either in the audience or the colleagues who are listening within the panel, are in the field of engineering or in engineering education. But let me ask all of you some important questions. How many of us think that our existing engineering curriculum enables the students to address some of the important social issues, such as homelessness, for example? How much of our curriculum enables the students to feel empowered that they can address some of the issues such as conflicts, or even the climate change or the loss of biodiversity that accompanies it. How many of us are confident that the current engineering curriculum addresses gender issues in engineering? I have to say this particular thing. How often do you see a long queue in front of a male toilet in public spaces? For example, let's say in bus stations, airports, train stations, mall, etc. Seldom. How often do we see a long queue in front of a female toilet exactly in these same specific public spaces? Often. When I discuss about this with my friends in engineering or architecture, they say, Venkat, no, this is not an engineering issue. This is a physiological issue. Female need longer. Female are chit-chatting with each other or putting on makeup. Absolute nonsense. Public toilets as a communal space has been in existence for a long time, and still there is quite a long queue in front of female toilet. Actually, there was a long queue in front of female toilet at Cardiff train station last week when I was taking a train. Yeah, this is a proper engineering problem, my dear people. But the question is, what does our curriculum, how does our curriculum enable even students to think about these issues, and whatever they are learning can be used as a tool to solve these? I just leave that question with all of you. Yeah. So the question is, well, what is it? Why is it that we should be looking at it, and what are some of the curricular issues? Why is it that our current curriculum does not address these issues? When I look at the curricular issues, some of the pertinent elements that come out are that the technical content is very heavy. The current engineering curriculum is very technical content, and it feels quite isolated from the real societal issues. And the students are empowered with a lot of technical tools, with modeling, simulation, equations, calculus, etc. But then how do we empower the students to use these as a tool to solve some real world problem? And we do not really enable the students to be agents of change with whatever they are learning. These are some of the issues that often come up, we see. And overall, summarizing all that particular issue, I would say that the bridge between the technical knowledge, which the current curriculum is so full of, and something the current curriculum is so very proud of, and bridging it with the social responsibilities that the students have because of engineering, whatever they're learning in engineering. That particular bridge is the one that is currently missing, or I would say needs a lot more strengthening. And so what is peace engineering, Venkat? I just, apart from giving quite a lot of definitions, the paper that I'm working on now just says that peace engineering is all about using engineering and technology, engineering thinking, etc., for the purpose of peace building and social justice. That's it. Yeah. And peace engineering education is how are we going to embed this in engineering education. And peace engineering overall, or the peace engineering education, what we are trying to do is not to look at the problems, but what are the sources of the problems, and how can the students use, or when they graduate, how can they use their technical knowledge to address the sources of the issues itself. Some of the elements that we found have been given here. This is what it is. And some of the closest matches to peace engineering education perhaps are these three things: humanitarian engineering or ethics in engineering education. And currently in Europe, especially the European research group for engineering education focuses on emotions in engineering, but again, these are all focusing on certain elements of it. And some of the approaches of embedding peace engineering so far are about like using it as a minor part of an existing module, to that of having an entire curriculum on peace engineering. Yeah. So it's just like currently there's like a range of it available, but the one at the end of it, full program of on PEng or peace engineering, is just like one or two universities in the entire planet so far that I'm aware of. And how do they try to do it? Usually they do it as a problem-based or project-based learning. But then currently challenge-based learning is also starting to be looked into. Well, our recent approach in Finland, with a colleague of mine, we looked at developing a 2 ECTS credit module. So this is the approach that we used over there. The students, they have to go out in the society, identify some of the social issues, empathize with the people by communicating with them, trying to understand, etc., and then collaboratively, interdisciplinarily work on creating the solution. The role of the academic would just be to facilitate it or even to scaffold it. And the outcomes we were able to see is that they did not only develop some of the technical and transversal skills, they also felt, of course this is just their feeling, they felt that they were becoming agents of change. A preliminary approach that we are currently using in Cardiff is again at the left end of the spectrum, which is just about creating awareness, in which I have integrated it as a part of a module. They have to do some independent reading and watch expert videos and write a reflective essay. But again, this only takes them to the first preliminary level, which is creating awareness. And overall, looking at not just these two work, but also our other work, a few of the results are that we are able to see an increase in empathy in the engineering students, which is very surprising to us, seriously. And the students are able to observe some of the social issues that they would have just like walked past. They are able to produce technical solutions for those social issues. Again, there are some students who think that, okay, there are no equations or modeling in this. It's easy mark. Let me just use ChatGPT to write the essay. We do get some students like that. Some of the implementation issues that we are able to see is how to balance the social and the technical content. And it is not just about us teaching, but it is about enabling a co-creation with the students. How are we going to do that? Developing some new pedagogical approaches is quintessential for this. Again, new assessment methods need to be done, perhaps in challenge-based education, and also institutional support. These are some of the implementation issues that we have seen overall in all the projects. Finally, I would say that it is not just some sort of trying to shoehorn in peace engineering in engineering curriculum. No, it is a completely different epistemology if you think of it. Epistemically, engineering education is very objective, number based, and it needs everything to be accurate to 4 decimal places. Whereas peace engineering is something quite subjective. So how to bring these two epistemic elements together? And so currently, I would say, even though we are working on it very hard, I would say, not hardly, the making of a peace engineer or peace engineering education is in its initial forms, and it is quite multi-dimensional in nature, and we are trying to tackle that currently. And this is what one of the person said, "Oh my God, it is too much work, Venkat. It is too much work. Is it really worth it?" Huh? I leave that with all of you, my dear people. What do you say? What say you? Huh? Is it really worth it or not? To
Thank you.
finish up, we are doing a peace engineering conference, and if any of our colleagues are interested, you can apply for it. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Venkat, for a little bit provocative, even very, very good presentation on peace engineering. And we are very fortunate to have a next speaker who happens to be an engineer, an environmental and sanitary engineer. So thank you, Linda Catalina Puentes, Atuesta, for participating as well. And you're a specialist in environmental law and a doctoral candidate in environmental sciences and sustainability in Colombia, in the University of Jorge Tadeo Lozano. Previously worked at the Ministry of Environmental Sustainable Development of Colombia, and now currently the institutional director of Liceo Bilingüe Rómulo Gallegos. You're going to talk about also education, environmental education as peace building. So definitely continuity to this story, and about integrating the water, energy, food ecosystems nexus in mountain ecosystems. And we already see the beautiful paramos of Colombia there. Tell us more, please, Linda.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Linda Catalina Puentes Atuesta. Today I will present my research entitled Environmental Education and Peace Building, Integrating the Weapon Nexus in High Mountain Ecosystems. Its work explores how education can contribute to environmental peace building through the integration of environmental education, peace education, sustainability, ethics, and the Wi-Fi nexus approach. How become this research? Sorry. This research talk about Wi-Fi nexus that it's now it's thinking that we are talking about around 12 and 20,000 that it's important to our territory because the paramos are very affected about many things that it's happening in our ecosystems. Maybe the illegal agroeconomic or something. And the Colombian paramos are among the most strategic ecosystems in the world. They provide water for the millions of people and support biodiversity of global importance. However, these territories face increasing pressures relating to food production, energy demands, ecosystems, conservation, and social development. These competing demands generate social ecological tensions and conflicts cannot be addressed through isolated sectional approaches. This challenge motivates the research for educational approaches capable of promoting dialogue, cooperation, and sustainable decision making. On this front, the Wi-Fi nexus plus environmental peace building. The Wi-Fi nexus help us understand the interconnection among water, energy, foods, and ecosystems. However, understanding complexity alone is not enough. Peace education contributes competencies such as dialogue, cooperation, conflicts, transformations, and environmental justice. Sustainable ethics adds responsibility, equity, care of life, and general justice. Together, these perspective create a pathway toward environmental peace building. Environmental conflicts can therefore become opportunities for cooperation, learning, and collective action. What wants to talk about this research? It's based on this challenge and theoretical foundation. The research proposed educational Wi-Fi nexus for sustainability and peace, or WE or EWSP model. That is the name of this research. The model represents the conceptual contribution of this research. At its core, it uses the Wi-Fi nexus to understand relationships among water, energy, food, and ecosystems. At the same time, it integrates peace education and sustainability ethics to promote environmental justice, cooperation, and responsible decision making. The objective is not only to understand the environmental problems, but also to educate citizens capable to transforming them through sustainability and peace building that we talk. This model works about 5 dimensions. That is the operationality of these visions. The model is organized into 5 interconnected dimensions. The environmental dimensions promotes ecological literacy and systems thinking. The peace building dimension develops dialogue, cooperations, and positive peace. The sustainability ethics dimensions encourage responsibility, equality, and care of the present and future generations. The governance dimensions strengthens participation and collaborative decision making. Finally, the pedagogical dimensions provides the educational strategies through which these competence and development. Together, these dimensions support environmental peace building in high mountain ecosystems. How was the methodology of this study? The study follows a design-based research approach, integrating the participation action research. First, socio-ecological changes and educational needs are characterized. Second, the model is co-designed with relevant stakeholders like teachers, students, experts, community. And the third, the model is validated through educational interventions. This iterative process allows continuous refinement and adaptations of this framework, but actually this works through the context that in this case is the Paramos, the most important ecosystems in the world, because we have 20% here in Colombia, and we need to take care how the students they are thinking this problem, how they are trying to building the peace. And we want to do how we can validate this model. We use many strategies. The first strategy was the simulation of United Nations, that it's where the students represent a countries, debate socio-ecological challenge, they do negotiations, they build ideas, they build laws, they develop the sustainability, and they develop about thinking systems that is with this is to validate the model. We implement this model and educational simulations inspired by international negotiations. Students represent different countries and discuss strategies for protecting Colombian paramos through dialogue, negotiation, and collaborative decision making. Participants analyze trade-off among water, energy, food production, and ecosystem conservation. this strategy functioned as a laboratory for environmental peace building, where students participate governance, cooperation, and conflict transform. This now we get the word peace building about the theoretical peace, positive peace, that is very important because we recognize that the peace isn't when we need to create, do ideas, to do a peace, a positive peace is necessary to have actions. The preliminary findings for this strategy, we found many positive things because although the research is still going on, preliminary findings suggest positive outcomes. Students demonstrate a stronger system thinking, greater awareness of environmental governance, and improved dialogue capacities. They also showed an increased abilities to identify cooperative solutions to socio-ecological challenges. The finding supports the potential of the EWSP model as a framework of environmental peace-building education. What was the what is the building this research now? Because it's the first step that we are organization, the dimension, to write and find the better road or better pathway to find the model. The contribution is this research contributes to environmental peace building in 5 ways. Theoretical, it integrates environmental education, peace education, sustainability ethics, and weaving nexus into the unified framework. The second one is methodological. It combines design-based research and participatory action research. Educational, it uses like the simulation as a laboratory for peace building and governance. Practically, it offers a framework that can be adapted to other mountain ecosystems. Finally, it promotes positive peace, environmental justice, and conflict transfer through education. Its environmental conflicts can be learned, cooperation can also be learned. In conclusion, environmental peace building requires more than technical solutions. It requires educational process capable of connecting sustainability, justice, and cooperation. The EWSP model seeks to contribute to this challenge by transforming environmental conflicts into opportunities for learning, dialogue, and collective actions. Through education, students can become active agents of sustainability and peace. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Linda. And then this concludes the presentation part. So I think the recording will soon